section verses. I can't remember if I didn't hit the button, did I? We're moving on to section verses 2 and 3. Verse 2. For in this we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house, which is from heaven. I'm groaning in this body. One just can't help but groan. Several years ago, I built a study up over my garage. That's J. Vernon McGee and not me. This is a bedroom in the basement, in the corner of the house, if you can't tell, which is right next to the house. I couldn't study in my office at the church, so I transferred my study to this room above the garage. Sometimes when I start down the steps in the morning, I notice that it isn't as easy as it was some years ago. I used to come bounding down those steps in the morning, but now I groan with every step. My wife tells me, "You ought not to groan like that." I remind her it's scriptural to groan. Paul says we groan in this house, and I'm going to groan while I am in this old house of mine. Verse 3. If so be that being clothed we shall not be found naked. This is interesting. One of these days, Jesus is going to call his own out of the world. We will be caught up to meet our Lord in the air, and we are going to stand before him. What will it be like for us? We will be clothed in his righteousness. We will not be found naked. Not everyone will be clothed in his righteousness when they are raised from the dead. Christ was delivered for our offenses and was raised again for our justification. Romans chapter 4 and verse 25. That is our righteousness, but some folk have not accepted his righteousness. They have rejected Christ. Therefore, there is a resurrection of the just and the unjust. Paul mentions this in Acts 24, verse 15. That there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust. Jesus said the same thing in John chapter 5, verse 29. And shall come forth they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. My friend, you are going to stand in his presence someday. Will you be clothed in the righteousness of Christ? Are you accepted in the beloved? This is a good time to mention that the Bible does not teach only one judgment day, but many. Number one, there was the judgment which Jesus Christ bore on the cross. It is because Jesus bore this judgment for us that he could say, Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me hath everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation or judgment, but is passed from death unto life. John chapter 5, verse 24. Number two, there is a self-judgment. We are told in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 31, For if ye would judge yourselves, we should not be judged. Number three, the third judgment. Also, there is the chastisement of God for the believer. The Lord takes us to his woodshed. For who the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and scourgeth every son who he receiveth. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 6. The fourth judgment, the works of the believer are to be judged, as we will see later in this chapter. The fifth judgment is the nation of Israel is to be judged. Number 6, the Gentile nations are to be judged. 7, the fallen angels are to be judged. 8, finally, there is the judgment of the great white throne. All the lost ones are brought there. They will appear naked. They will not be clothed in his righteousness. They will be judged according to their works, which is the way they wanted it to be.